So for this one, I'll talk about why raising the Kundalini could be dangerous. This is not an experience that I had, but I have been doing some research and some understanding. I've come to some understanding and put some pieces together, and it's starting to form a picture as to why that's possible and why there are a lot of warnings about Kundalini rising out there. Okay, so this is my take on it, based on the experiences of other people and from my own judgment of that. So what happens with Kundalini rising is the chakras start to open up, and the serpent or the becomes awakened. Basically this real strong force comes out from your first chakra and just rises and opens up your crown chakra, and basically at that point in your life, when your Kundalini rises, you'll start to be aware of other dimensions, because at that point is when you can actually interdimensionally travel, if you so start to desire that and choose that. And sometimes it's automatic. You just automatically the dimensions start to melt into this one dimension that you already exist in. And when you're here, when your Kundalini hasn't risen, you're a normal person, you don't see anything outside of this dimension. But like quantum physics say, all potentials exist at the same time and perhaps the same space. So if we all inhabit the same space, then the other dimensions we're intersecting. There's a lot of intersections, but we're on different frequencies, different radio stations, different antennas, so we're not picking up that frequency. And what happens with Kundalini is that you start to become aware of all dimensions, all levels of existence, and there will be other entities or other beings that will start to come into your awareness or your focus. And sometimes they understand that you're now aware of them, and they will interact with you. And that's where the bipolar and all these misconstruement people who have experienced these bipolar have a lot of similar experiences with people who have Kundalini rising, and even some similar experiences with abductions, alien abductions. And so what happened is that you start to see you're becoming aware of another level of existence, which you possibly are also on. But before the Kundalini rise, you weren't aware of it. It doesn't mean that it didn't exist. You just weren't aware of it. And in the book of the 9 Freedoms, they talk about having to cleanse your aura of karma. Kind of like karma, but it said it more along the lines of negative energies. So in life, we accumulate a lot of negative energy, and sometimes it comes from a result of the actions we took and the decisions we made. And so we accumulated what we could call karma or negative energy around our aura. So when we die, we carry that with us, and we take that on to perhaps the next life or wherever we go. And that's like an imprint of this is kind of where this is who you are, and this is your experiences and development. And when you still have a lot of negative karma, like negative energy on you, then once you've opened up your Kundalini, once you've opened up the channel to now exist on different dimensional levels, you start to see beyond the human eye can see, and you start to know beyond that. But all of that knowledge is not taught to you, and all of that knowledge is not ready to you on a mental or physical, emotional level. And so then the people sometimes go a little berserk, and because they weren't ready for that, in that raise of consciousness, or that rising of this force. And it's so much that it now becomes a problem for that person, because then they're not aware, they're not able to exist normally on this plane, on this level. So if a person is able to handle that and understand that this could be an effect possible, and that they may experience this if they continue to meditate or to try to open up their chakras or to rise up their kundalini, then I think it's all fine. It's just up to that person. But what they have to be aware of is that the book of Nine Freedoms talk about is that the kundalini rises naturally. And sometimes we can do things to make it rise if we keep practicing yoga, breathing, just with our intention, we keep practicing these things to help rise our kundalini. But it would be kind of a forced rise, and that's also when you sometimes haven't cleared all your chakras, or all your energy, your aura, the negative energies inside your aura. And so they also talk about, in the Nine Freedoms, 3 basic steps to precursors to open up your Kundalini, which is also to clear your energy, negative energy. Is first one being bravery, love, and then to give, to give, to be a giving person, to give back. These are the 3 things. And these things clear up your karma as well. So when you're giving back, when you're being loving, when you're loving, whatever comes your way, you're sending it love. I mean, not sending it, but you are love. And you are bravery. You're brave to face it. You're not escaping. You're loving. And also your giving, basically it clears up your karma. And your kundalini then can automatically and naturally rise when it's good and ready. Instead of being a sort of manually manipulating this to happen, intending it to happen, mentally wanting this to happen, but to allow it to happen when you're good and ready, when all your auras have been cleansed. And that when you finally do open your third eye, and when you do open other dimensional consciousness and dimensional awareness, then you can see amazing things, instead of seeing like, this monster is trying to get me and trying to throw me out the window, or, just, you kind of get a different reality, because at that time you have cleansed yourself. Because what you see outside in your outer reality is only what you have within you. So if you're vibrating on that negative level and you still carry that negativity around you, you can only attract, and the outer reality can only reflect what you are within. And so you only see that. So then instead of being people who are negative, then they become spirits who are negative, because that is the reality that you were vibing with at the time. So that's my take on why Kundalini could be, you just be more cautious if you're playing with it, because I'm sure it's great force. It's a big force to be playing around with, and if you're going to play with it, then to know what you're getting yourself into, to have that. And I just can't say enough about the book of the Nine Freedoms, and it's amazing. It talks about levels of consciousness being when you open up different chakras, when you're rising slowly and you're opening up different chakras inside of you, you're basically starting to free yourself of all these things that you're bound yourself into. Perhaps it's like addictions, or it's continuous cycles of thinking the same way, being stuck in this realm of thought or this dimension, and it opens you up to levels of dimension in which there's a point in that where you can astral travel, or where you can pretty much be in all dimensions at all time, and kind of split up your you, who you are. You can be in many places at all the time, at one time, and and connecting to spirit, God, and also to be completely free is when you have control of your energy can go up and down your spine at will. Because right now we can't even make it go anywhere. But until your chi or your energy can go up and down your spine at will is when you have achieved true freedom, because you can go anywhere you want. You can go any dimension, you can go to any level of consciousness and awareness, up or down. And that's what it was saying in the book. I didn't actually read the book, I saw it online, but they talked about it, and it seemed like a really amazing book. So if all the chakras represent a different level of dimension, and this is just my take on it, different levels of dimension, then if you can travel at will up and down anything, all the part of your spine and any chakra, then that means you can pretty much go anywhere in all dimension. You can also exist in all levels of dimension, being that all levels of your chakra are you're aware of all of them, and you had them all open at once, So, yeah, I think, because I was really into Kundalini, and I was just curious about what it was, and there was a guy on YouTube who said that he had that experience in which he was doing Vipassana, and he was really intensely he was sweating, he was aching, he had all these, fevers, just hurting, he was like sweating constantly, and he was cold, and he was, just freezing, and he was meditating so intensely. And he said he felt something stir, and then this boom of energy coming from beneath his chakra, and it just went up and out and through and out of his mouth. When he had the notion that out came the serpent from his mouth, and so I was, I've never heard anyone have that experience. From my Vipassana, I didn't have anything like that. Of course, he's been there many times, and he probably meditates a lot more, and that was my first time. So, but that got me really curious about, what is Kundalini, and why did he see the serpent? Why did he see the snake coming from his mouth? And he's also very curious because he's doing the comparison between bipolar people and people who have Kundalini rising premature Kundalini rising. And he's putting those connections together. So, so I'm just putting some more of what I've discovered, and to connect that along with these wonderful knowledge and the sharing these people have brought to us. Okay, thanks.